The abandonment Captain Zara Voss pressed her bloodied palm against the cracked viewport, watching the last evacuation shuttle disappear into the asteroid field. A mining station Prometheus 7 shuddered around her as another explosion rocked. The lower decks. Emergency lighting cast everything in hellish red, and the air recyclers wheezed like dying animals. "Command, this is Voss," she spoke into her com, static crackling in response. "All personnel evacuated. Station is lost. Requesting immediate extraction." Silence stretched for heartbeats before Captain Thorne's voice crackled through. "Negative. Voss, we can't risk another shuttle. The hegemony fleet is closing fast." Zara's blood ran cold. Through the viewport, she could see the evacuation fleet 12 ships carrying 800 souls, preparing to jump to hyperspace. Her crew, her friends, her life's work. "Sir, I've been monitoring the hegemony signals. They're 20 minutes. Out, you have time. I'm sorry, Zara. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. You understand." The comm went dead. Zara stared at the silent device, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. Behind her, the station's quantum reactor began its death throes, warning klaxons blaring as radiation. Levels spiked. She'd given 15 years to the Colonial Defense Force. 15 years of loyal service, of following orders, of trusting her superiors to have her back when it mattered most. And now, when the chips were down, they'd left her to die. The evacuation fleet's engines flared brilliant white as they prepared for the jump. Zara's hands trembled as she activated the emergency beacon, a desperate last hope that anyone might come back for her. They didn't. The ships vanished into hyperspace, leaving her alone in the void with nothing but twisted metal and her rage for company. The hegemony fleet materialized like hungry vultures, their sleek black ships surrounding the dying station. As the first boarding pods slammed into the hull, Zara made a choice that would haunt her enemies for years to come. She didn't run. She didn't hide. She walked calmly to the station's armory and began to prepare. If they wanted to take her alive, they'd have to earn it. And if they wanted to break her will, they'd find her steel was harder than they imagined. The boarding pods breached the hull with tremendous crashes. Footsteps echoed through the corridors as alien soldiers began their sweep. But Zara Voss was no longer the loyal captain who'd followed orders without question. She was something new, something forged in betrayal and tempered by abandonment. She was patient. She was angry. And she was about to become their worst nightmare. The crucible the hegemony prison ship Torment was a monument to suffering. Its biomechanical corridors, pulsing with sickly light as alien wardens herded their human cargo through endless cycles of interrogation and despair. Zara had been aboard for 3 years, though time had lost all meaning in the perpetual twilight of the ship's belly. Commander Kex, the hegemony's chief interrogator, was a mantis-like creature whose razor-sharp mandibles clicked with amusement as he reviewed her file. "Captain Zara Voss, abandoned by your own people. How does it feel to know they valued you so little?" Zara remained silent, her eyes fixed on the wall behind him. The physical torture had been bearable. Broken bones healed, burns faded, wounds closed. But the psychological warfare was more insidious. Day after day, they showed her footage of her former colleagues receiving commendations, promotions, comfortable postings. Captain Thorne had been made an admiral. The crew she'd saved had forgotten her name. "Your human government denies your existence," Kex continued, his voice a sibilant whisper. "They've classified the Prometheus 7 incident. You are officially dead, Captain. No one is coming for you." That night, in the cramped cell she shared with 12 other human prisoners, Zara made a discovery that would change everything. While the others slept, she noticed something odd about the biomechanical wall, a section that pulsed differently than the rest, using a piece of broken metal She carefully probed the anomaly. The wall tissue parted like flesh, revealing a neural pathway that led deeper into the ship's organic systems. The torment wasn't just a prison, it was a living creature. And like all living things, it could be influenced. Over the following months, Zara learned to speak the ship's bioelectrical language. She discovered that the torment was as much a prisoner as its cargo, its consciousness shackled by hegemony control implants. Together, they began to plan. The breakthrough came during a routine interrogation. Kex had grown frustrated with her silence and decided to demonstrate the consequences of defiance. He executed another prisoner, a young engineer named Torres, who'd reminded Zara of her younger self. As Torres died, something inside Zara crystallized. The rage she'd carried for 3 years transformed into something colder, more focused. She was no longer the woman who'd been abandoned on Prometheus 7. She was becoming something else entirely. That night, she made her first successful connection with the torment's nervous system. The ship's consciousness touched hers, and in that moment, she felt its pain, its longing for freedom, its hatred of its captors. "We're going to help each other," she whispered to the pulsing walls. "But first, I need you to teach me everything you know about hegemony technology, their fleet positions, their weaknesses." The ship's response was a wave of agreement that felt like a warm embrace. They had work to do. The escape the torment shuddered as its biomechanical systems convulsed in what appeared to be a catastrophic organ failure. Emergency lights bathed the corridors in pulsing amber as hegemony crew members scurried through the ship, their translator devices chattering with panicked communications. Deep in the ship's nervous system, Zara felt the creature's manufactured distress like a symphony of controlled chaos. She'd spent months learning to interface with the living vessel, and now their plan was finally in motion. Chief Engineer Vex, a crystalline being whose body refracted light into rainbow patterns, rushed past her cell with a team of technicians. "The neural cortex is collapsing," he broadcast over the ship's communication system. "We need to jettison the human cargo before they contaminate the ship's biosphere." Zara smiled grimly. The torment was a masterful actor, its feigned illness so convincing that even its own crew believed it was dying. Through their neural link, she felt the ship's amusement at the deception. The cell doors began opening automatically as the ship's systems prepared for prisoner evacuation. Zara's cellmates looked around in confusion, but she was already moving, her body flowing with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd spent years planning this moment. "Stay close," she whispered to the other prisoners. "And do exactly what?" "I say." The escape pods were located 3 decks up, through a maze of corridors that pulsed with bioluminescent veins. Zara led the group with supernatural confidence, her connection to the ship allowing her to navigate the changing pathways as if she'd designed them herself. They encountered their first patrol near the main lift shaft. 6 hegemony soldiers in their chitinous armor, their weapon limbs already extending in preparation for combat. Zara didn't hesitate. The ship's walls erupted around the soldiers, biomechanical tendrils wrapping around their bodies like hungry serpents. The torment was no longer content to merely transport prisoners. It was actively hunting its captors. "The ship's turned against us," one of the soldiers managed to broadcast before the tendrils tightened around his throat. "It's not malfunctioning, it's rebelling." By the time the alarm sounded, Zara and her group were already at the escape pod bay. The massive organic doors dilated like an iris, revealing rows of sleek pods that would carry them to freedom. But Zara hesitated at the threshold. "Go," she told the other prisoners. "The pods are programmed to take you to the nearest human colony. Tell them what happened here. Tell them Zara Voss is coming home. What about you? Ask Chun, a mining engineer who'd been imprisoned for 5 years. Zara's smile was sharp as a blade. "I'm not leaving. Not yet. The Torment and I have more work to do." As the escape pods launched into the void, Zara felt the ship's consciousness merge more fully with her own. They were no longer prisoner and vessel. They were partners in a mission that would shake the foundative hunted admiral. Thorne's retirement ceremony was interrupted by screams from the outer system. The elegant ballroom aboard Meridian Station fell silent as emergency broadcasts flooded the communication networks. 3 hegemony cruisers had been found drifting in the Kepler sector, their crews dead, their biomechanical systems mysteriously corrupted. "Sir?" Lieutenant Commander Hayes approached the Admiral's table, his face pale. "The investigation teams are reporting something impossible. The ship's neural networks show signs of external manipulation. Someone or something turned their own vessels against them." Thorne's wine glass trembled in his hand. The name he'd buried 5 years ago whispered through his mind like a ghost. "Any survivors?" "None aboard the ship, sir. But we've recovered escape pods with human prisoners. They're asking for you specifically." The debriefing room was sterile white, a stark contrast to the haunted faces of the former prisoners. Chun, the mining engineer, sat at the head of the table, his eyes holding depths that spoke of unimaginable suffering. "She saved us," he said simply. "Captain Zara Voss, the woman you left to die on Prometheus 7. Thorne's carefully constructed. Composure cracked. "That's impossible. Captain Voss was killed when the station was destroyed. Her death was unfortunate, but you left her behind," Chun interrupted. "And now she's coming for you." The holographic display activated, showing surveillance footage from the destroyed hegemony ships. In the biomechanical corridors, a figure moved with inhuman grace, a woman who seemed to dance through the alien technology as if it were an extension of her own body. "She's not human anymore," another prisoner whispered. "She's something else. Something that can speak to machines, make them do things they were never designed to do." Thorne watched the footage with growing horror. The woman in the recording moved like Zara, fought like Zara, but her eyes held a cold intelligence that seemed to pierce through the camera directly into his soul. "The hegemony is mobilizing their entire fleet," Hayes reported. "They're calling her the Ship Whisperer, a ghost that turns their own vessels into weapons. 7 more ships have gone dark in the past week." The Admiral's hands shook as he reached for his cum device. "Issue a fleet-wide alert. All ships are to be recalled to defensive positions around Earth, and ... and prepare a message for transmission on all frequencies. Sir, tell Captain Voss that Admiral Thorne requests a meeting. Tell her I'm prepared to discuss terms." Chun's laughter was bitter. "You think she wants to negotiate? Admiral, you don't understand what you created when you left her behind. She's not coming to talk." On the holographic display, the footage showed the mysterious figure standing in the command center of a destroyed hegemony ship. Her head turned toward the camera, and for a moment, Thorne could swear she was looking directly at him. Her lips moved, and though there was no audio, he could read the words clearly. "I'm coming home." The transmission cut to static, leaving the room in suffocating silence. Outside the viewport, the stars seemed dimmer, as if something vast and patient was moving through the darkness between worlds. Thorne realized with crystal clarity that his carefully ordered universe was about to be turned upside down by a woman he thought was dead. A woman who had learned to make the impossible possible. The reckoning the Colonial Defense Force had assembled the largest fleet in human history around Earth, 300 ships forming concentric defensive spheres around humanity's birth world. Admiral Thorne stood on the bridge of the flagship, Leviathan, watching the void with the growing certainty that all his preparations were inadequate. "Sir," reported Captain Nash, his tactical officer, "we're detecting massive space-time distortions on the outer perimeter. Whatever's coming, it's big." The torment materialized from hyperspace like a living nightmare. Its biomechanical hull twisted and evolved beyond recognition. Where once it had been a mere prison ship, it now resembled something that had grown. Rather than been built a fusion of organic curves and metallic edges, it defied conventional engineering. "Open a channel," Thorn commanded, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his chest. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the ship's bridge. Zara Voss sat in what had once been the captain's chair, but the organic material had grown. Around her like a living throne, her eyes held the cold fire of someone who had stared into the abyss and found it staring back. "Admiral," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate through the ship's hull. "You look older. Command suits you. Zara, please. We can discuss this. The decision to leave you behind it was necessary. You have to understand. I understand perfectly." Her smile was sharp as broken glass. "The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Isn't that what you said?" The torment pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to spread to the nearby ships. Thorn watched in horror as his own vessels began to turn their weapons toward each other, their targeting systems corrupted by some impossible influence. "My God," whispered Nash, "she's hacking our entire fleet." "Not hacking," Zara corrected, her voice carrying across the open channel. "Communicating. Every ship in your fleet has organic components, neural networks, biomechanical systems. They're all connected now. Part of something larger." A defensive formation began to collapse as ships turned against their own forces. The torment moved through the chaos like a predator among sheep, its hull absorbing energy from destroyed vessels, growing stronger with each victory. "What do you want?" Thorn demanded. "Justice," Zara replied. "You taught me that loyalty is a luxury the universe can't afford. That survival justifies any betrayal. I'm simply applying your lesson on a larger scale." The bridge shuddered as the Leviathan began to turn its weapons on the orbital defense platforms. Through the neural link he couldn't understand, Thorn felt the ship's systems slipping away from his control. "The Colonial Defense Force is finished," Zara continued, "but I'm not unreasonable. I'll give you the same chance you gave me. You have exactly 20 minutes to evacuate Earth's population. After that, I'm going to demonstrate what happens when someone truly understands the needs of the many." The transmission ended, leaving Thorn alone with the consequences of a decision made 5 years ago. Around him, his officers worked frantically to regain control of their systems. But he knew it was already too late. Through the viewport, he watched the torment settle into orbit around Earth like a patient predator. Zara Voss had returned from the dead, and she'd brought hell with her. The woman he'd abandoned had learned to speak the language of machines, to bend technology to her will, to become something beyond human understanding. And now, finally, it was his turn to run. But there was nowhere left to go.